Sentinel Online. Now loading the GeekCast radio network of podcasts.
Hello and welcome to Altered Geek Unlimited episode 76. I'm your host Steve Megatron Phillips, and joining me this week is...
Steve, do you want Mike?
I'm not wearing any pants. I'm Mike Dodd, the Birdman.
The reason why he's not wearing any pants, folks, even though thank God I cannot see that, is because he's probably interviewing porn stars.
Well, I usually wait till after the interview. Like, geez. I have some control. I'm just saying.
Well, that's after they've sent him the goods.
That's right. Exactly. Always get your press materials first. Now that I've painted myself in that awkward situation, how are you? Let me tell you, do you know what it's like when you interview the people from Fleshlight and then the mailman shows up and that's where it shows where it's from? Awkward. I can only imagine what Canada Customs thinks of all the weird shit that comes to my house on a weekly basis. My God, I'm so...
That's alright, if it was the U.S., they would seize it for themselves.
That's Obama for you.
Yep, he'd put it in his special white room.
Look at that.
Seeing as how he believes that George Washington lived in the White House. What an idiot.
Ignorant moron.
Okay, so... Mike,
I didn't know this.
You haven't seen... I'll share it with you on Facebook in a minute. But, so Mike, out of all the years, because you've been getting weird crap, not just on a weekly basis, like for the last 7, 8, and almost 9 years now, what is the strangest thing you've ever gotten in the mail?
Okay.
That you haven't... That you have not asked for, that someone just sent you?
A dildo. Someone sent me a dildo about 2 years ago, and it said, Mike, I love your content, but go fuck yourself. I'm like, well, this is just awkward. So that was strange. I actually sent a text to Mike Laidman. I'm like, hey, look what I just got in the mail. Big rubber cock. The most fun thing I've ever got in the mail, I still have no idea who sent it to me, was an iPhone 4S from a couple years ago. Guy's like, dude, you're doing an amazing job. I know you've had a shitty year, and Merry Christmas. I'm like, holy fuck. Who are you? No one has ever stepped forward. So maybe my address got confused with somebody else. I don't know. I'm not complaining. Weirdest thing I've gotten officially, I said, fleshlights and a laser pointer so powerful it can burn things.
Yeah.
It was actually seized by the Canadian government, and I actually almost had to pay a $5,000 fine, but it turns out it's illegal. I didn't know. Sorry, I imported a super weapon, evidently. Damn North Koreans. I don't think that's racist because Kim Jong-un is actually evil. I think. I don't know.
Well, they did make the interview.
Which, has anybody actually got around to seeing that?
It's on Netflix. I just don't care to see it.
You know what? Sit down. Take an hour and a half. It's kind of funny.
I don't care.
I don't typically like Seth Rogen.
See, there's one point in it, and this made me laugh pretty hard. I won't give you the context of it, but he's like, dude, you just got fucked by RoboCop. I kind of lost my shit at that one. Plus, I guess, be the romantic lead for Seth Rogen. Pretty fucking hot. Just saying. Once again, this is now getting awkward and strange. Please someone else talk besides me. Now that I'm talking about fleshlights, dildos, and this. My God, someone help me!
Okay, so since Mike is talking about all this, since Mike is talking about all these ball-inducing things, let's talk about football. Because you apparently
know nothing about football?
Just don't get it.
Although, I did watch the last quarter of the Super Bowl.
Yeah. And
I do know two things. One, that juggling bit was actually kind of cool. And number two, why the fuck would you pass the ball when you can basically just take a really long jump and hit it into the end zone? I know that was mind-fuckingly stupid.
So, Wow.
They totally blew it. They totally blew it. I couldn't believe it.
So, okay, here's the thing. I listened to last week's Altered Geek, and I wasn't going to comment because I knew I was going to be on this week's show. And I had heard you say, that you just don't get it. You don't understand why people are so invested in it as fans. And for me personally, I grew up in Kingston, Massachusetts, which is, depending on traffic...
That's Raven territory, isn't it?
Oh, heck.
I'm guessing here. I don't know.
I'm going to smack you. The Ravens are in Baltimore, you idiot. That's in a
Oh, shit. I'm sorry. Well, who's in Boston, then?
The Red Sox, the Celtics, the Patriots, the Bruins.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so, growing up in Kingston, Massachusetts, which is about, an hour and a half south of Boston or so, depending on traffic, baseball, football, basketball, and hockey in the 80s was life. Think of Boston, Massachusetts, Mike, as West Canaan, Texas in Varsity Blues. You basically breathe the sports. Or, I know Steve's going to be talking about this guy a little bit later in this episode. Think of 2005's Fever Pitch when Jimmy Fallon said basically life for him is the Red Sox, sex, and breathing. In that order.
Yeah, it's kind of like how in Toronto, when we have a good year, it's all about the Leafs. Though this year, hilariously Dodd. But I'll talk about that later, too.
And what I find funny about the Boston sports right now is we are in a time of, for the most part, all four of the major sport teams are basically pulling Charlie Sheens. Most of the time they are winning. The Red Sox, everybody knows the story of the Boston Red Sox. I mean, it had been 86 years since they had a championship, and then in 2004 we finally broke the curse. I remember as a kid watching the Red Sox and hoping every year, watching the Patriots and hoping every year. It wasn't until Flutie and Bledsoe were gone and Brady was in there when we actually started winning the Super Bowl with Tom Brady.
That's a name that I know.
Yeah,
I know who that is. I couldn't pick him out of a lineup, but I know that name. I feel excited and vindicated.
And... yeah, but, for me, living in Kentucky, and I've lived here, almost 25 years or so, I don't talk, online on Facebook, Twitter, unless, I'm paying attention to the sports or unless they're airing in this area, which is very rare considering we're basically in the middle between Chicago and Atlanta, so we either get all the Chicago teams or all the Atlanta teams or whatever else. Unless my home teams are on TV, I don't really talk about it that much online. I do love sports. I grew up loving, Larry Bird and the Celtics and all that stuff for basketball. But you guys were saying last week that some of the major sports just don't matter to you, which I understand. It's not going to matter to everybody. But I remember as a kid there was nothing more exhilarating than watching Cam Neely and Ray Bork and the Boston Bruins taking it to any team that they could get and just beating the crap out of them. Like I said, Bird and McHale and the Celtics just basically demolishing the Lakers in the NBA Finals. And the Lakers had Magic, which is crazy.
I know those names because they had basketball video games.
Wow, that's sad.
And that movie, White Men Can't Jump. And vaguely, I think they mentioned it in that Joe Pesci movie, The Super.
Mike, I'm surprised you don't know Magic Johnson from a
I
little
know the name, but I couldn't pick him out of a lineup.
Yeah, well, a little-known cameo that he had in the late 80s, because he was in Mario's bathroom cabinet on the Super Mario Brothers Super Show.
Oh my God, you're right. I seem to remember the Inspector Gadget cameo more, or that random swimsuit model that showed up.
Yeah.
Name completely escapes me now. My God, this conversation went awkward and weird and in a completely different direction.
And Steve's over there just hitting his head
Steve's
against his desk.
I have to edit this shit.
Steve's oblivious to it, and he's eating crackers or chips.
I should eat dinner at some point today, but then again, So, as we often do, I guess we should decide or ask, what the hell's everyone been doing for the last week?
Steve, you can go first.
Well, I had class. They had us actually do our vocal skit for the paragraph and a half of the dialogue we had to remember, and some people were over the top, like doing Dracula impressions or Southerners or various other weird ass characters. I, in turn, because I discovered after I did the initial practice run for a grade for memorization, I did the Joker, and I figured out that we actually had to act out the characters for the final version.
Oh.
And I was like, I'm not being the Joker for the final one. I'm sitting on my ass. So I did a Casey Kasem impression with a microphone and a piece of paper, made it look like I was reading it off the piece of paper, even though the paper was blank. So suffice it to say, I did very well. But now we're having to memorize a dialogue for the class from The Odd Couple, which is why I brought that up earlier. And we have partners for that, and we have to read like a scene from the play, and quite entertaining. I'm the character that's not the OCD one, so it's kind of fun. And then I'm bombarded with I'm working on like a million different things right now, but yeah, that's pretty much it. That and watching TV.
Good stuff. I'll go next. This week, I've been putting this off, as those of you that listen to the Twig site, I've been putting off my review of the new Nintendo 3DS, which it will be up tomorrow. I'm recording it as soon as we're done this, actually. And I'm trying to decide, do I like it or do I love it? Which is kind of funny, because, usually it's love it or hate it. So I'm going to put my thoughts to waveform as soon as we're done this. I've also decided I think Dying Light is the video game equivalent of Stockholm Syndrome, where you hate it at first, you loathe it, and then eventually you grow to like it, and you may even begin to love it after a while. That game is a grind until you're about level 6 or 7. Once you start unlocking the bigger abilities and the cooler weapons, it becomes a lot more fun. I've also discovered that fire is my best friend in that game, where I literally just sit on top of cars with firecrackers and then throw Molotov cocktails at zombies. So I'm throwing cocktail parties of the Molotov variety, and I'm totally breaking the game. In fact, there's this awesome day-night mechanic where if you encounter zombies at night, you're 6 ways up shit creek. However, at certain points in the game, the clock freezes, where you're supposed to be it's a dramatic moment, right? Like, you got to get here by this time or whatever. So it's permanently daytime or nighttime during this particular cycle. So I did almost all the game's side missions before the first mission of the game actually started. I walked through that game retardedly powerful, and now I'm a low-rent Batman, because I've got a grappling hook who throws Molotov cocktails. It's kind of awesome now. In addition to that, a couple of fans this week sent me some really, really cool shit. A fan named Cam, who evidently works at the same comic book store where they filmed Tiny Plastic Men up in Edmonton, sent me the Firefly RPG book by Margaret Weiss, sent me an Aliens retro Kenner-style figure with just the 5 points of articulation. It was Ash with the xenomorph coming out of his chest. A really cool anime buildable figure, which I think is Rey from Evangelion. And the food of the gods, ambrosia itself, Reese chocolate peanut butter spread. Because, oh my god, you can't get that shit in Canada, or at least if you can, it's really hard to find. And also been reading up on the role-playing game Rifts, because I talked to those guys next week, and that's a really interesting world. I couldn't believe how modular it is. If you want to use books, you can. If you don't, you don't have to. It's really, really cool. So that's what I've been doing. Full answered.
For me, I have been finding new comic series I want to read, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Let's see. I have been going through all 122 episodes of my favorite cop show, Nash Bridges, to review for Visual Entertainment Incorporated, so I've got that going. What else have I been doing?
121. That's like 5 years, isn't it?
6, yeah.
Wow, holy shit.
Yeah, I got through about 95 of them in 5 days. I got through 95.
Mike, sleep?
No. Come on now. How long have you known me? Sleep? I'll sleep when I'm dead.
I just can't picture anybody watching that many episodes of Nash Bridges in a row.
That's
gonna be like some kind of a world record.
No, I love that show, man. That show is awesome.
It could be worse. You could be watching 30 years of Law and Order.
Hey, Law and Order. Oh my God. My wife watches SVU all the time. So all I hear is that dun dun, sound
dun.
coming out of the bedroom.
Dun dun.
I was watching SVU from season 13 to about middle of season 16 right now, but I stopped watching it after a while. I just kind of lost interest. But yeah, no, I don't, man. I love that show. That show, and Nash Bridges is hilarious, especially when you put in certain guest stars. Like they had reunions with Philip Michael Thomas and Tommy Chong in one episode. They had Stone Cold Steve Austin in like 6 different episodes of the show. It's freaking amazing.
Was he the same character?
Yeah, every episode he was a character called Jake Cage. He's basically a fugitive recovery cop, and it's pretty much Stone Cold's personality back in the Attitude Era. Basically, he isn't going to take any crap from anybody, and he's going to do everything the hard way.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Steve Austin, the Bounty Hunters.
Yeah, pretty much. I've also been trying to catch up on WWE, but some of the stuff
that Royal Rumble. Oh my God.
Some of the stuff that's going on in WWE, I just don't care about anymore.
Although I will say this about that. Now they have a trap door if they want to ditch Roman Reigns with this bullshit at Fastlane, which I'm excited for Daniel Bryan. But now if they don't want to have Reigns go to WrestleMania, they now have their way out. Because people were pissed right off. Me included.
I miss the days with no authority. I really do.
Yeah, because now they're just like, whoa, we're the bad guys, twirly mustache. Even Stephanie McMahon has a twirly mustache.
Yes, she does. And I don't know if... I honestly have no idea, like, why personally, like, in his real life, why Randy Orton is not there right now. But as far as
I think he's just taking time off.
Oh, okay. Well,
because I know before that he was doing a movie, but then I think they said he fucked up his arm or something. But he was supposed to be back on TV like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
See, I wish, and I know why he couldn't, obviously, but I wish Batista had hung around a little bit longer, because I truly missed Batista when he came back last year. That was awesome. I
don't think they used him right last year, because honestly, with him winning the Rumble last year, it was such a wow, that's some bullshit. And although my favorite Batista moment is last year, he wore these blue tights at one point.
Yes,
called him Blue Tista. He looked like I don't mean this to sound terrible, but he looked like a gay Mega Man at one point. It was so terrible. I'm like, dude, please just stop. Go back to the back and put on some pants. The time when he split his pants on Raw. That was hilarious.
He went mega, oh my.
Oh my God. It was so terrible. Although now that he's I'm Spectre, I'm Drax, we're never going to see him again.
I know, that sucks. My 2 favorite current, in the last 15, 20 years, I think, I think I can say this, and I think it was only maybe 5 or 6 or 7 years ago when one of these moments happened. My 2 favorite WWE moments right now are when Batista basically pulls Santino's thing and then let it go and had it snap back on him. And then before that was when, and at the time, I was not a fan of Santino Marella at all. But basically, both of these moments are against him. And the other favorite is when Stone Cold came in with the beer truck and basically sprayed beer all over Santino and Maria.
That's funny. Actually, you know what's weird about Santino? He actually runs a gym about an hour away from me.
Oh, wow.
Which is really cool. Yeah, he runs this Combat Arts Academy. And the last time I went to a house show for WWE, that's when he announced his in-ring retirement at that particular thing. But supposedly he might be coming back, or at least doing something, because he's done a few things.
Mm-hmm.
I really like Santino. I really like him and Emma, but Emma's hot as shit, so maybe that's why.
Yeah.
Probably my favorite diva outside of Natalia, but that's a different discussion for a different day. Because honestly, I can talk wrestling for like an hour or more now. Because that's how much I've watched in the last year.
Well, we'll have to do
Anyway, we should probably move on to other topics so Steve can say something.
Yeah, we'll have to do a GeekCast radio episode of wrestling stuff.
No down for that.
So, speaking of nostalgia, we might as well go right into the Tonight Show.
Yeah.
Best skit ever. They have aged so well. Oh my god.
You can definitely see the age in their eyes, though, when it gets up close to them.
Oh yeah. But for like Tiffany Amber Thiessen, like, my god, you've aged well. Even Mario Lopez.
Oh yeah, he doesn't look any different.
Oh yeah. And even Elizabeth Berkley, seeing her in those clothes, wow. I mean, when she does her other roles, you can definitely tell she's older, but in those clothes, for half a second, you couldn't tell.
Oh, I know, you really couldn't tell on any of them. I mean, Zach was kind of showing his age, but
still, like, Mark Paul, he's aged remarkably well. And just the fact that there's such good sports about this to come out and do it, that's kind of awesome.
And Tiffany Amber Thiessen, she, I've seen her for the past 6 years on USA Network's White Collar series, and yeah, you're right. I mean, she has aged very, very well. I mean, she hasn't lost anything. Absolutely. I like this. I like the Saved by This Bell skit, but I'm sorry, Jimmy should never have done that Fresh Prince skit.
I haven't seen that one.
I'll talk about that one after, but
okay.
As for this one, now they were missing 2 of the Saved by the Bell cast.
Dustin Diamond and Lark Voorhees.
Yeah, where most of the sites were claiming that it was a full reunion, even though it wasn't. I mean, it was pretty damn close, but still.
I don't imagine Dustin Diamond's allowed to travel over state lines due to his current legal troubles.
Yeah, at last I heard he was in jail or something.
Oh God, I'm sorry to take this away from Saved by the Bell, Steve, but he said legal troubles. All I can think of is that you guys are harboring Randy Quaid because he can't come back to the States. End up in Canada.
That's all right. He's showing videos himself effing.
Oh my God, that was the weirdest thing I've seen in a really long time.
Just imagine, that guy used to be roles like Cousin Eddie and Tim Dalen from Days of Thunder, and
he used to be sane. He
used to be good.
Yeah.
And then somehow he lost his mind. God knows why he lost his mind, but hey, hopefully he gets the help he needs.
He looks like the number 10 of a top 10 worst mall Santa list.
You know what he looks like? A more militant Duck Dynasty person. He looks nuts. Although ultimately I still want to get a hug from Randy Quaid.
No.
Just to say I did. Just to say I survived. I survived Randy Quaid. That'd be an awesome t-shirt.
And then have his picture and have it from the vacation movies.
Oh my God! I need to find out where Randy Quaid's bunker is, because odds are he's got a bunker. Surprise me if he's somewhere near me, because I do live in the boonies of Ontario. But anyway, back to the Save of the Bell skit. One of the things that really impressed me was the production value of it. That set looked phenomenal.
I know, it was perfect.
Like,
it was like walking right back onto the show.
It's like whoever built that set and did all the set dressings for it, clearly they were fans. They loved it. And the music hits, like, literally, you could not have planned. Like, whoever did that, that was a labor of love. You could tell. Like, whoever directed that skit, hey, you know what? Here's your life dream. You get to direct one episode of Saved by the Bell. That skit ran 8 minutes. That's almost half an episode. That's kind of awesome.
I thought that was pretty friggin' awesome. I really enjoyed that.
Like, I'm trying to, like, now, if they could do a Family Matters one somehow, but I wonder how many of those casts are still alive.
Almost all of them, except for Laura.
Woman? Wait, whoa, Laura's dead?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
I knew Eddie Winslow's girlfriend was dead, or, sorry, the other girl, Maya, had passed away. But I didn't know Laura passed away.
Yeah, she died, like, a year after the show ended.
What? Wow.
What bus were you under?
Clearly. Where the hell have I been?
He lives in Canada. What do you expect?
I thought that was just common knowledge.
It's not Kentucky, but hey.
But yeah, wow, that's just...
That's dark.
No. Okay, wait. Steve, you're saying that the actress that played the daughter, Laura, is dead?
Yeah.
No, she's still alive.
No, she's not. She's still alive.
Oh. I thought I saw somewhere that she died.
No, you're thinking of Maya. Maya had cancer, and she passed away not too long after the show ended.
Yeah, Myra.
And her and Darius McQuaid, the guy that Jazz from the Transformers movie, was her real life boyfriend. And it's really sad because she was really talented and she was really, really pretty. Mm-hmm. Unfortunate.
The only thing is, I wonder if they ever did, and I know, and I'm not speaking in terms of what Jimmy might do, but I'm speaking in terms of general of just a Family Matters reunion, if Jaleel would come back as Steve or Stefan, like to kind of like Nutty Professor it up, like which
you would have to do both,
is,
and they'd have to green screen it or something.
Well, right, but what I'm saying is, like, would he come back as Steve or Stefan and basically pull a Nutty Professor and say that, oh, this personality actually took over?
I think that'd be pretty funny. In fact, I'd love to see them do that. I just wonder if he actually would. Here, Jimmy, get this on your next to-do list. Although, I'm trying to figure what other shows could you realistically pull off a reunion episode and actually have it matter. Maybe Friends, Cheers, or Frasier.
I don't think anybody cares about any of those anymore, though.
Well,
I think Friends you might.
No.
Well, I
hate Friends, don't get me wrong, but...
I hate Friends with a passion. The only episode I ever remember actually watching when the show was on air was the Hootie and the Blowfish episode.
I watched the part of the Robin Williams thing, that was about it.
No.
I watched the first 3 seasons, and then years upon years ago, I dated a girl to watch the show obsessively, and believe me, you start to hate that theme song. That theme song starts to bring up murderous rage.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's funny because they ended up using that in what's that movie that Jennifer Aniston was in with Jason Sudeikis? It's the one where they smuggled pot from Mexico.
Oh,
Long Came
I know what you're talking.
No,
that was fucking Ben Stiller. The Millers or something.
Yeah,
right?
we're the Millers. They in the blooper reel at the end, they played on the radio. They changed it to the theme song of Friends, and they all started singing it. And she's like, "Oh my god."
Although sad case in point about the Friends song, when I graduated grade 8, it was the highest rated television show at the time.
Mm-hmm.
That was my graduation song.
Oh my god.
Biggest load of BS in the history of mankind.
Pretty much,
or at least in my childhood. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. Oh, man. However, though, we should maybe get to the topic here. That's important.
Anyways, as far as the Saved by the Bell, it was kind of funny how they brought up the all the different things that all the actors had been doing since Saved by the Bell.
Mm-hmm.
Like they put the jab at Slater for the Dancing with the Stars, and Jesse they put for doing that, being a stripper.
Showgirls, yeah.
Yep. And then I like how they kind of insinuated that, or they actually came right out and said Zach impregnated Kelly in the skit. And then Belding, like, my God, he's like not even close to looking the same.
Yeah, he's not aged well. But he's remarkably friendly. Actually, he's really interactive with fans on Twitter. I was actually going to interview him at one point, but I just didn't get around to contacting his agent right. So that's unfortunate. Probably lost that opportunity. But still, he's a remarkably nice guy. He does. I think he does a lot of charity work too. I think he does a lot of celebrity golf tournaments for stuff like that. I think, and I think he hangs around the Playboy Mansion a fair chunk. Good for him.
So he's basically living the life you want, Mike.
Fucking right, he is. Man,
If the boot fits.
when Hef kicks it, I'm moving in. Sorry, Blair, I'm moving to the Playboy Mansion.
You wrote yourself in the will.
Yep. There'll be nothing but martinis, pinball, and babes. I'm okay with it.
Nice. But anyways, Jimmy Fallon also did the Fresh Prince kind of knockoff, saying that they're going to L.A., which was kind of.
You're on here, Steve. Didn't say it. You're on here.
I know it's a promotion for his show, and I understand he wants to get everybody watching his version of the Tonight Show. But is it really that big of a deal? Because it's not like he's changing time slots. He's just changing where it's filmed for a week.
Yeah, and that's a bad thing because...
No,
I'm not. Kind of a big deal.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm saying, like, he had to... And I'm sorry, I did not like the skit. I just didn't care for it.
You just have something against Jimmy Fallon because it's not your stagnant old guys that are doing their shows.
No, it's not. It's nothing to do with Fallon himself. I mean, he has the Tonight Show, and that's fine. But I just don't care for his comedy style.
That's what I'm saying. You don't like Jimmy Fallon. You like your old crotchety guys that have been doing it for the last 15, 20 years.
Hey, don't you dare disrespect Johnny Carson, damn it.
I'm not disrespecting Carson. I'm saying Carson was the last good one we had, and Fallon is the new good.
Leno had his moments, to be fair.
In the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, I stopped watching Leno, I think, around 98, 99.
Once they replaced him with Conan and then they brought him back, that was pretty much the end.
Yeah, and I like Conan's new show a lot better now, too, actually.
Well, because he has the freedom to do whatever the hell he wants. Mm-hmm. And he does a lot of skits like that, too, but I think Fallon does it better.
Yeah, because I think with Fallon, you get this unbridled enthusiasm. Like, I really think in some ways Fallon's a lot like us. He's a big geek and a big kid at heart.
Which is why it's such a big deal when he does stuff like this. And then he doesn't just do the typical, talk show host, blah, blah, blah. No, he interacts with them.
I'm convinced somewhere in his personal house or something, there is a notebook written in pencil in, like, from 2002, and it's like a bucket list. This is what I'm going to do, and it's year by year. I'm convinced, because that's how much, like I said, he seems so genuinely happy when he does these things. Honestly, I could not picture Jimmy Fallon crying, because that's how much, that guy is, when I think happy, that's him. Literally, because that guy's always smiling, always really happy to see you.
Honestly, I'd love to meet the dude, but because I like all the shit he does. So I've liked him since he was on Saturday Night Live. So
I became more of a fan of him after he started doing the Tonight Show because I thought his movie career kind of sucked.
oh no, I don't disagree with you. His movie career did blow. It blew chunks. It was so bad.
But now that he kind of has this blend between where he can be a persona and himself, it's wonderful. Like, I'm actually I mean, speaking of late night shows, how we were talking about, we're in this transition phase now. I'm kind of excited to see what's going to happen in the nighttime landscape because Fallon's really hit his stride.
Letterman's retiring.
Letterman's retiring. It's Colbert coming in. That'll be really good.
That I am looking forward to see.
Colbert, I do think is going to knock it out of the park.
Oh yeah, like he's going to have that show will be impossible to get into as an audience member for 2 years at least.
I think in the past probably 20 years, the most I've ever laughed at David Letterman at this point is when he was on the Late Late Show filling in and complaining. Yeah. Well,
Craig Ferguson's another guy. I loved his show. He was so funny.
Now, I never saw a lot of Craig Ferguson, but when I did watch the last episode that he did, and that was actually pretty freaking hilarious.
There was one skit he did where he started, if you search on YouTube Craig Ferguson Twilight, he goes off on some amazingly funny tangents. And he also did this one when Matt Smith was just announced as the new Doctor Who. This was maybe a season or so into his run. He did an appearance on Ferguson, and they had everybody come out and sing the Doctor Who theme, which obviously doesn't exist. And he just got so into it, and it was one of the funniest things I've seen in a long time. But yeah, Ferguson brought this really natural, dry wit to his stuff. I loved it. I really thought he was really funny too. It's kind of sad his show's gone now.
It's not gone. Well, the Late Late Show is not gone. It's
not him.
It's just not him anymore. And they've done this whole everybody fill in. And the latest fill in episode I saw was the one I was saying where I actually laughed at what David Letterman was saying because Letterman is sitting here talking to Regis Philbin, talking about the new guy that's supposed to come in and take the job. And I don't even know who it's some British guy. I don't even know. And, Letterman is sitting there saying, why does this guy need an extra month off? If I was doing this, I would come in here, the next night or the next week and just do the show. And I thought that was so hilarious. So right now we have Jimmy on Tonight Show. We have Seth Meyers on Late Night, which is just god awful. And you got Letterman on his show, which will become Colbert. You got whoever the new British guy is on Late Late Show that's coming in, and then you got Jimmy Kimmel on his own show. Those are pretty much the five shows. And Conan. Yeah. But I'm saying those are the 5 shows that are on broadcast television.
Jimmy Kimmel stuff. I love all the videos they post to YouTube. Whenever they do the mean tweets, in fact, this week's it was musicians. When it was Ariana Grande was reading one of her own tweets, and it was like, I'd rather listen to an auto-tuned queef for hours on loop than listen to Ariana Grande.
And she just laughed her ass off.
Oh yeah, I lost my shit at that. An auto-tuned queef. I don't know. Those things are always so funny. Some of the things people say. That's why, no word of a lie, sometimes I'll randomly put out there.
They put, Blake Shelton says, it sounds like something... I can't remember all of it, but then he says, and then he fucked his sister or something. And he just is like, what?
There was one, I think it was from this one. It was Donald Glover. He's like, Childish Gambino looks like he's the kind of guy who would suck his own dick, and he's like, that's fair. Donald Glover, underappreciated comedic talent. Actually, watch his stand-up routine. It's fucking hilarious. I think it's on Netflix, actually, still. Man, I don't know. Like I said, I'm really excited to see where this new crop of late-night people goes. I haven't cared about late night TV in years.
I guess we'll find out this fall or whenever.
I mean it's going to be a good year, I think, in terms of entertainment television. I really think that.
Yep. So
that was the world's most awkward transition.
Yep. Going. Yep. Okay.
Yep. How about them local sports teams?
So, did any of you see the Heroes Reborn teaser?
No.
I've only seen a still of it. I haven't watched the actual thing, but I'm excited for this to come back, though.
It's like 15 seconds, and the only guy that's back is obviously HRG. But
have they announced what the storyline is for it yet?
No.
We just know we're not going to see anybody except him.
Pretty much.
Which I'd kind of like to know how the other world resolved itself, because Heroes, I thought, was such a fascinating world.
I'm wondering if this is like he got his hands because it got out in the public. I'm wondering if he got his hands on a special genetically altered person, because I can't remember what the hell they call them in that show.
I think they just called them specials or something like that.
It might be. I don't know. But I think that because there's like in the beginning, there's something going on between. They have two of them, one in front, one behind HRG, like at different like lengths of the screen. It's not actually next to him, but one of them's doing something in the sky with some looks like vortex type thing. So I'm wondering if like maybe they rewrote history and changed everything.
It'll be interesting to see what happens with it. I would kill for Masa Ogi cameo, the guy who played Hero. What happened though, which kind of sucks. But I thought that world was so awesome. It just sucks that the fourth season went so off the rails.
So you guys, last week you brought this up, and Mike, you made the offhand comment and snide remark of, it was so much better than Mutant X. Are you kidding me? At least Mutant X had a fully developed story by the time it ended. At least it wasn't constantly interrupted and canceled and uncanceled and whatever else. And honestly,
there was no writer's strike, to be fair, Mike.
I don't care.
Well, then that invalidates your argument. You have to care.
Mutant X was, for the time, from, 2001 to 2004, was a pretty awesome show, if you really think about it in special effects terms and stuff like that. And plus, it's, for me, coming from seeing John Shea as Lex Luthor on Lois and Clark, seeing him as a good guy, that was just strange.
I think my thing is Heroes kind of brought superheroes to legit drama in primetime, and then they bombed it. Whereas Mutant X was more Saturday afternoon serial type stuff. I thought Mutant X was fun.
It was more of a show you'd watch on a Sunday night.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas Heroes, that was primetime. And Heroes, I don't know, like, the writer's strike certainly didn't help it. Oh my god, it didn't help it.
And Mutant X had that 90s cheese to it, like in types of how the graphics looked and everything else. Yeah. Whereas Heroes had the modern day kind of look.
Yeah, I mean, it had the NBC budget, plus it had established actors, like really, really big actors in it too. So I don't know, like I'm excited to see where Heroes is going to go. I don't know whether DC is going to do a limited series to go with it, because they had the rights to do the comic book previously. I think there were 2 volumes. But I'm not 100% sure. I mean, either way, I'd like some resolution to what happened before.
It'll probably be an offhand comment.
I hope so, because I just want to know, now that Claire revealed to the world, oh, by the way, I'm basically Wolverine, I can heal, what happens next, or that dark future that was invented and all that shit. I don't know. I really hope somehow loose ends are tied up, or if we're going to get a new original story, make sure you stick with it and don't go off on tangents.
Yeah. Screw tangents.
And the funny thing about Mutant X is that I think, and I could be wrong, but I think this was the first time we had heard of at the time of Fox and Marvel arguing over their own properties. Because now it's in the news constantly about Spider-Man. But I'm reading here on Wikipedia about lawsuits between Fox and Marvel back when Mutant X was on. That's just crazy.
Yeah, now, obviously, they helmed their X-Men and Fantastic Four franchises and everything else. I don't know, man. It's a weird time to be involved in all this stuff to see what's going to happen, especially with, like, superhero films, but we talk that to death on this show. Actually, I'd like to bring this up while I'm thinking about it. Did anybody see the teaser for Daredevil this week?
Yeah. I saw the teaser of the teaser. I didn't see the actual teaser.
Trailer looks really good. It looks a lot darker than I thought it was going to be. And now that more casting announcements has come out for other Marvel series, like a.k.a. Jessica Jones announced they're having David Tennant as Purple Man. They got Carrie Ann Moss is in it, otherwise known as Trinity from the Matrix.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, Marvel's Netflix stuff is looking really good. Like, I'm hoping Daredevil is as awesome as I think it is when that comes out in April. That's the day I'm definitely binge watching. Like, that's the kind of day I'm ordering a pizza, leave me alone. Sort of thing, phone off the hook.
Well, and to tie this back into what we mentioned earlier about a certain 30-year-old franchise, you have Detective Gorin from Law & Order: Criminal Intent as the Kingpin in this Daredevil series. That's just amazing casting.
He's going to bring something really good to that role. I'm really excited for that. Because when you get him intense, Vincent D'Onofrio is intense. Like, the kind of, I'm afraid you might murder me intense. I think it's going to be awesome. I'm so excited for that. I'd like to see them involved. I don't know I don't know how. I would love to see them get John Malkovich in the Marvel MCU somehow. Because he plays a wonderful psychopath.
I can see that.
Like, I've been playing Call of Duty Exo Zombies, and 9 times out of 10 I end up with John Malkovich's character in that game. And just the way that he delivers the lines. And in the opening cinematic, he's like, I fucking hate the Atlas Corporation. I'd just love to see him as, like, some mercenary or something. Or, like, I don't know, put him on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or something. It's like a guest star or something. But, yeah, I'd love to see John Malkovich in the MCU somehow. Probably won't happen, but hey, I can dream.
You never know.
Yeah, because it seems like everybody's jumping on the whole Marvel train.
Well, and the thing is they actually got a guy from the Tomorrow People as an Inhuman now.
Oh, man.
It's the lead guy that played John.
Oh,
Not the one that's Firestorm in Flash. It's the other guy.
Which reminds me, now Marvel has released a prequel comic which ties Winter Soldier into Age of Ultron.
Mm-hmm.
It more or less says Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch are Inhumans. That Loki's scepter unlocks genetic potential. That's what Baron von Strucker did, more or less. But Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver may have been the only people to survive the experiments. So,
because they're mutants.
It's going to be awesome. Like, man, 3 months, man. Think about it. 3 months to get Age of Ultron.
Okay, so since Mike brought up Age of Ultron, did you guys watch the last 2 episodes of The Blacklist? Because we pretty much had Hellboy versus Ultron in The Blacklist.
I actually have not got into that show, but
really,
after watching the trailers for James Spader as Ultron, I kind of want to check it out.
He is freaking spectacular in that role.
I kind of hope they don't kill Ultron, that they can bring him back somehow, just so we can have James Spader again.
That updating of the Pinocchio song is just creepy as all hell.
It so works, too.
It does. It does.
Like, you know what's awesome? I can't wait to see... His Toy Fair is in, like, 2 weeks or something like that, if not sooner. I hope they have some awesome Ultron-looking figure coming out for mass retail. I haven't seen anything from Hot Toys for Ultron. I imagine you haven't been looking too much. Because I know they've previewed some of the other figures from that movie, but I don't think I've seen one of Ultron yet. If not the Marvel Legends series by Hasbro, they'll typically do something pretty cool for these movies. There are these smaller Age of Ultron figures where you can build Avengers Tower, which is kind of weird. It takes like 6 playsets to build, but it looks really cool. But the figures are only like 2.5 inches tall, so they're smaller than even G.I. Joes. Kind of a weird decision, but eh.
Speaking of G.I. Joe, they're saying that they're going to have Zaymot and Tomax and Matt Tracker be villains in the film for the new one.
Matt Tracker's going to be a bad guy?
Pretty sure.
Oh my god, that's so cool! If they can reference Mask in there somehow more.
I think they're planning on it.
Oh my god, not gonna lie, nerd boner. That sounds so cool. I'm so excited for this now.
It's a rumor at this point, but most rumors anymore end up being true for the most part.
That's so
on
cool.
some regards.
Is John Chu still doing that one or no?
No.
Who's directing that now?
Have no idea.
You know what? I would love to see. It will never happen. It will never happen. I would love to see Serpentor on screen.
They can't get Cobra Commander right.
You think in like a snake costume.
You think they're going to get Serpentor right? They can't even get Cobra Commander right.
They got him more right in the sequel. Because the first one, it was Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Take this with a grain of salt. It is cited from different sites here, but on Wikipedia it says that either Martin Campbell or DJ Caruso are in talks for directing the third G.I. Joe film.
What have they done?
Martin Campbell. Martin Campbell has done GoldenEye, The Mask of Zorro, Vertical Limit, Casino Royale, Edge of Darkness, Green Lantern. Ugh.
No, he wipes that all out with GoldenEye and Casino Royale.
I know.
And this could be awesome if they get him.
Yeah.
But it all depends on the script. If the script sucks, you can't make, magic like a turd.
Mm-hmm.
But that's about all you can do.
The other guy, DJ Caruso, just to run it down for Mike really quick, he has done stuff like... Oh, damn. The TV series Martial Law. He wrote an episode of Dark Angel. He wrote an episode of Smallville. He wrote 6 episodes of The Shield from FX. Most recently, he did I Am Number 4 in 2011 and Standing Up in 2013.
Was I Am Number... That was the weird alien movie, wasn't it?
Yeah. He also did Eagle Eye in 2008 and Disturbia in 2007.
You know what? I kind of liked Eagle Eye, even though it was kind of stupid and goofy. I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was just such a weird premise, and yet it kind of worked.
I'll say this. I don't know, and I know, Steve, you said it's a rumor that he's going to be a villain, but if they somehow work in Venom into the third G.I. Joe movie and then split it off from there and actually make an actual Mask movie, that could work.
I think they are planning on going to Mask.
Oh! That's the sound of joy right there, guys. Just
you know what they should have done from the get-go?
What?
Combine Mask, G.I. Joe, and Transformers.
Uh-huh. With Michael Bay.
They talked about something like that. They said there's a possibility of a G.I. Joe Transformers movie at some point down the road.
Well, they should have done it from the get-go, because I think that would have improved both of their franchises immensely.
Can you imagine if Age of Extinction, instead of getting that piece of shit, we got G.I. Joe Transformers? I don't care how mindlessly stupid it would have been. Just to have those... If I could see a Hiss tank transform into Optimus Prime or something, I'm cool with it. Whatever.
You mean like in the comic?
That's also joy. Or sorry, that's the aftermath of joy. Oh, man. That would be so cool, man. Just Michael Bay can produce it and direct the action sequences because you know what? He does action like nobody else. but let someone else handle everything else. And no Marky Mark. I like Mark Wahlberg. But him saying I'm an inventor every 10 minutes is not endearing to him.
And he gets that like high-pitched live voice, like, I'm an inventor.
Mark Wahlberg was not the worst thing in the Transformers film franchise. Let's face
say
it.
what you will about Shia, but he wasn't as bad as some of the stuff that went on in the fourth film.
Yes,
Even Megan Fox, I think, got a bit of a bum rap, somewhat. I liked her, all this news. She could have been a lot worse.
I liked her better than any of the other females in the other two films because they just were batshit stupid.
I liked the girl who played Carly.
Yeah, the one that was the Victoria's Secret model.
Yeah, I thought she was pretty, but she also handled some stuff better than Megan Fox. Once again, all feedback can be sent to Mike at thisweekingeek.net if you think I'm a complete idiot. I don't know. I wonder how those movies would have benefited by having a more established actress instead of just the pieces of eye candy. Could they have done something more with them? But then again...
Well, it was directed by Michael Bay. I mean, I'm not going to harp on it because we've done this before, but I think you're onto something. I think if we would have had more established people and kind of, and when I say established, I mean people that are just, I don't know, better actors.
You know what would have been great? To get 1990s Michael Bay with 2015 Michael Bay special effects.
Mm-hmm.
You could have The Rock dude and Armageddon guy direct Transformers with now special effects. You'd probably get something really, really awesome. It would be a giant toy commercial, but it would be so cool.
So it'd be the equivalent of watching Pacific Rim.
Yeah, and that's what those movies should have been. There's more robot-on-robot fighting, and as opposed to, here's a human element you don't care about. And because that's the thing, with Sam, you never really cared. And in number 2, he just kind of ditches them. Like, yeah, I'm going off to live my own life now. See you bastards later. I don't know. I mean, I even like the second Transformer. Like, I like all of them except Age of Extinction. Which...
How can you okay? I know Steve doesn't want me to get into this, but how the hell can you like Revenge of the Fallen more than Age of Extinction?
It was written better. If you
no,
can believe
it wasn't.
Yeah,
oh God, was it ever? It was way better.
The editing,
villains who were established for one.
Well, the editing and dialogue was just horrid in the fourth film. Watch the honest trailers of both those films. You will definitely hear more go on with the fourth film than you will the second one.
Oh yeah. Like, and honestly, I really like The Fallen, even though he's not really explained a whole lot. I like how that's Tony Todd. I don't know, just there are parts of Revenge of the Fallen I genuinely like.
I'm not saying that the Robo Balls or some of those kind of scenes were the best in that, or the
they're cringeworthy,
or the racist robots, but it was, I still enjoyed it better than the fourth one. The fourth one, I was rolling my eyes going WTF during the entire film because it was just so bad and cringeworthy.
The problem with Age of Extinction, I think, that movie was about 45 minutes too long.
It's like an hour and a half.
It was long.
There was a lot of extra crap and too many plots going on at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, let's establish one thing and let's go with it. I mean... And that's the thing. Like, I really like the Transformers franchise. I genuinely get excited whenever there's a new movie. And I'm let down at the same time. But on the other hand, I'd rather have a Transformers movie than not have a Transformers movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of hoping maybe they'll see the value in going back to animated once to see what would happen. Because there's not nearly enough good kids animated movies out there, I think. There could always be more in theaters as opposed to just once during the summer. I think Transformers would do pretty well, but I guess because it's the live-action franchise, they don't want to confuse fans, quote-unquote.
They're already confusing them. They reboot it every few years.
Yeah, I haven't seen the newest iteration. I'm still watching Prime. So
the newest one hasn't aired yet.
It hasn't even started.
Okay, good. So I'm not that far out of it then. Okay.
No.
It starts.
And that one takes place after Prime.
Yeah.
Same universe, different animation style. Same studio doing it.
Maybe it won't be bad because I thought Prime was really good.
I'm withholding my judgment, but I think it's going to be crap.
Oh, you mean the new one?
Yeah.
I love how he says that. I'm withholding my judgment, but I think it's going to be crap.
I said I think it will be. I didn't say it will be.
I guess we'll wait and see what.
I am going to watch
happen.
it to find out, though.
Yeah,
I'm
hoping, for example, the new season of My Little Pony will live up to expectations. I thought the fourth season was good, but I don't know, man. 5 seasons, I'm thinking eventually that show is going to run out of steam. I was thinking about that today as well. We're talking about new shows that, could potentially, you don't know.
Nope.
Okay, great transition.
All right. So one of the latest things floating around the internet has been Superman's new suit and his new superpower.
As far as I understand, he goes Super Saiyan. It is to mean he just gets exponentially stronger. It's called Flare or something, isn't it?
So basically, what you're saying is he has Dragon Balls.
Yes, but only 2, not 7.
And he lets Lois play with those. I mean, Wonder Woman. I mean, we don't know this universe.
Maybe it's Harley Quinn.
She wants Batman.
$1.
She wants Batman and Arrow's balls. Yeah, so I guess this is like the first new power added since like the 40s.
Oh God, no! Because if you go back and read Superman over, like especially in the 2000s, he got all these really weird. He actually at one point had a power where he could see your soul. He could read auras or something, and technically he could punch as hard as a supernova. Which, if you want to see a really good analysis of Superman's powers over the years, go on YouTube, type in Screw Attack Death Battle, and watch Superman versus Goku. And you just see all the ridiculous powers Superman actually has. It's kind of nuts. I don't know how he's been neutered in the new 52, but, yeah. They gotta keep him. You know what? It's like a chocolate cake. You love chocolate cake, but eventually you put too much crap on the chocolate cake and it's going to suck. Leave him alone. He's Superman. We all know his powers. A 5-year-old knows all of his powers.
Yeah, I can't say I'm one way or the other on it.
I stopped reading Superman after the new 52 because I'm like, okay, don't care anymore.
I didn't read him before, so I just quit reading Batman too after the new 52. Because it's gotten too convoluted at this point.
Yep.
But
pretty much agree on that one because I don't know if they've wrapped it up. I think by issue 40 of the new 52 Batman, the main Batman title, I think by issue 40 they're going to wrap up the Endgame storyline. But the Endgame storyline, which is the next Joker story, takes place after the events of the weekly Batman Eternal, but the Batman Eternal weekly doesn't end until next month. And the Joker storyline started like 4 months ago, 5 months ago. Just, I don't know.
Weird.
DC's doing all kinds of weird, stupid crap.
Speaking of weird, stupid crap, have you seen the video of Jean-Claude Van Damme doing green screen?
No.
He does a bunch of different action poses, phrases, and everything else, and he put it online for some contest, I think, but I'm not sure what the whole thing surrounding it was for, but somebody actually made like a zombie video and had him input in there, and then somebody recut him into the Guardians of the Galaxy trailer, which I prefer that version better. Like they even made the fake little screen like they were scanning him in, and one of the guards behind I forget his name, but he's been in a lot of Will Ferrell movies with Will Ferrell. God, I can't remember his name right now. But anyways, the guy behind him says, "What the hell?" Like when Jean-Claude Van Damme comes up in his scene of it. It's just the way they input him. It was kind of funny, but you'll have to check that out. It's in the show notes.
we keep talking about him, and I keep thinking we're gonna have to review Street Fighter at some point because I miss Guile.
I love. You know what? Van Damme is one of my favorite actors of all time. I love that guy. I actually remember seeing I think it was the Canadian premiere of JCVD at the Bloor Street Cinema a couple of years back when that movie came out. He is still on my top list of people to meet in my lifetime.
Yep.
He kicked the crap out of Steven Seagal, just saying.
Yeah.
And then Stallone beat his ass in Expendables 2.
That was a damn good fight scene.
Yeah, it was.
I think Expendables 2 is I think that's the best of the three movies.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. Go ahead.
It would go 2, 3, 1. Because I thought 1 was kind of boring in parts.
Well, 1, you had to introduce it. You had to introduce the whole concept of it. Let's face it, the story was, and it's friggin' Eric Roberts as the villain. I mean, if you would have made Eric Roberts the submissive and made Stone Cold the main villain, it would have been a little bit better.
I don't know. I kind of like Eric Roberts as the bad guy because that's all he ever plays in his career.
Yeah. He's like the Megatron of action movies.
Pretty much, yeah.
But it was awesome. Say what anyone wants to say about the third film. It was awesome seeing Martin Riggs as a bad guy. It really was.
I thought so, yeah.
Alrighty. So, listener comments last week. Don't remember what was the damn question. Hey, you leave me alone.
I didn't say anything. I was just over here laughing to myself.
I know you are. In the meantime, while I'm getting that pulled up, yeah. So I put, what sport are you lost on? What one do you like? And then the do you look forward to the Super Bowl commercials trailers? We did get some comments. Graham says, I love sports movies. It's so weird because I don't care for sports. Which is kind of my thought, too. Justin says, was I the only one who thought the commercials this year were super serious? One had a kid dying, for Christ's sake. Whatever happened.
That's fucked up.
I didn't watch the trailers or the commercials because I didn't see anything that was really noteworthy to go after this year. But he says, whatever happened to Talking Frogs? I will say I did enjoy the halftime show. I like Katy Perry's music at times, and I'm not afraid to admit it. She can actually sing. This year, the game lived up to the hype and was entertaining through and through. I know people who are like you and don't care about football. I have no idea how to explain it to you in a way that makes sense, in a simple way. You like to see your team do well, and the teams you hate do poorly. Everyone hates the Patriots, so that gives you the perfect enemy. Sorry they won, but at least it was fun to watch this time. Last year's game was a bore. And then Bourne standing up says, yeah, once the ad with the dead kid came out, it hit a tipping point of crazy.
It was just so unexpectedly bleak.
Yeah, I didn't see that. I just heard all the stuff about some of the other ones that were not fit for air.
Like, man, come on.
That is kind of messed up, though.
Mm-hmm.
I look forward to them to be funny and retarded because that's just what makes them great.
Was there
like the Doritos commercial last year where the kid told the guy it was a time machine and he had to pay with Doritos, and then he ran away because the old guy scared him away.
That I thought was brilliant.
And he's like, Jimmy, you got old. It was priceless. Peter says, look at it this way, guys. How many people who enjoy sports are boggled at the idea of someone spending hours upon hours playing video games that gives you not much more than make-believe achievement points? I enjoy video games, but I get way much more from watching sports than I do playing games. There's a craft to any sport, especially today when nearly every minute minute detail is dissected to nth degree. There's a joy in investing into the success of a team. When they win, things are amazing. When they lose, your entire week is ruined. Everything tries to manufacture that type of drama that comes naturally to sports. No idea what geeks you guys deal with, but I don't find many all that welcoming when you aren't fans of whatever they are. When you do try to break in, they ridicule you for not knowing everything about said property. I had that issue when I tried to get into Doctor Who.
I was about to say, yeah, that's one of the worst fandoms to get into right now, is Doctor Who. Like, Whovians, they're either really welcoming or they're militantly not, which really sucks, because I count myself among that fandom, and you have it. You know what? It's a lot of the new Who fans. I find, like, anyone who's post, pretty much anybody who's from, like, Eccleston forward, so Eccleston, Tennant, Smith, and now Capaldi, I don't know. The fandom goes through really weird vibes with it, and I kind of agree. Although, to counter his point about video games, we're getting imaginary achievement points, at least that shows your skill being demonstrated, as opposed to watching other skilled people participate. Now, maybe if you're doing a fantasy league, I could see if you have a really keen eye for saying, let's say Tom Brady, I guess, is passing really well. You could track that statistically.
Right.
And again, you're just playing D&D for jocks at that point.
Right, but still, video games have almost turned into a sport. I mean, look at
it is a sport, esports.
Well, right, but I'm saying, like, look at 5 years ago when DirecTV had the Championship Gaming Series. Okay, sure, that was a tournament that was televised, but that's still you're still watching other people play video games, but that you're invested in. I remember in the Championship Gaming Series there were 3 or 4 teams, and you pick a team or you pick one of your favorite players that is playing the game, and so I mean video games is today in the last 5-10 years is no different than actual sports. You're just sitting there playing a game.
Oh yeah, I mean, and especially now because last weekend was Apex, which is one of the bigger fighting game tournaments of the year, and it gets sponsored out the ass. It's broadcast on Twitch and on YouTube, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And there's Evo in Vegas, where all the big fighting game players from around the world come. I think there's a $10 million or $1 million Call of Duty tournament later on this year, which is sponsored by Activision. There's things like Team FaZe, Team Optic, Team Caliber. Esports is huge right now, especially with like MOBAs being the big thing right now. Like League of Legends is huge to watch people play. Hearthstone, which is it's like a card game based on Warcraft, but it's really competitive. I don't know. I mean, esports is something huge, so I can see where this guy's coming from, and I really understand that. You know what? I guess your players are real, mine are programmed, I guess.
Greetings, programs.
Exactly. Welcome to the grid, motherfuckers.
That's right.
Go on, Steve. What else we got in the comment box?
Of course, the email that you received.
Yes.
About Tess Munster?
Yes.
I
don't have it up in front of me. So
it's from Amanda. She says, just listen to your Altered Geek episode. Fun as always. A little note on Tess Munster, the model who shook a storm up for being plus size. First off, I don't care what size a model is. Good for her. Well, if it were anyone else, that is, you see Tess is a rather famous health at every size blogger model. Now, this would be an awesome movement. Everyone deserves encouragement and good vibes. But this movement has been warped. It's more of a health at our size. Anyone at less than a small fat, as they say, is anorexic. And it goes on to talk about that and the genetics and with losing weight and the clothes and so on. It's She says they do a lot of moaning and groaning about thin privilege, going on and on about how people look at them wrong or make fun of them behind their backs. And Tess, she's the one who claims after beauty standards while wearing makeup that super defines cheekbones, corsets, and other thinning items. So it sounds like it's also kind of a mess too.
Yeah, I mean,
good idea with a bad attitude is what it was finished off with.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm really glad we actually got a chance to kind of talk about that. I actually saw more people posting about this on this week on my Facebook this past week, and I saw somebody post, "Health at every size is not real. Medical science disproves it," and I really just want to say, oh motherfucker.
I think there's a healthy weight for every individual. I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all category.
I don't even think it's a matter of weight. It's a matter of overall health. You could be you could be heavy as long as your vitals check out. Fucking it.
Well, it's like my wife. She used to weigh 306 pounds and then lost down to 145, just from working her ass off and eating right. And she works out every morning. She has more. I don't know. Her body internals are healthier than mine because I'm a lazy geek and I sit on my ass and I don't work out and I eat a bunch of junk. Granted, I do eat the health food too when she cooks it, but if it's not prepared, I eat whatever I can eat. And so I may be thin and don't gain weight, but I'm not healthy on the inside by any means. Like, I'm wheezing for breath when I run and she's like, "Oh, you're out of breath, you weak little bitch."
You pussy.
So yeah, that kind of fits in with that. So I think jumping into something a little bit happier that we can touch on for a little bit. It's something LeVar Burton posted on February 1st. He puts, "If your child loves superheroes, then damn it, buy your kid comic books."
I completely agree with this.
But it's not just superheroes, honestly. I mean, I was just, as of this recording, I was just in my local comic shop today because I was looking for Scooby-Doo Team Up number 8 because that is when Scooby and the gang team up with the Jetsons. Sadly, it came out a month ago, so they didn't have it in. But anyway, I was looking at this kids section. There's Mega Man comics.
They're quite good, by the way.
There's Batman comics that they make for kids. There's all kinds of stuff there. So it's not just the superhero stuff. I mean, there are other things that kids can read that aren't.
I think he didn't just mean superheroes. I think he just meant if there's a topic they're
comics
enthused
as
with,
a medium.
Yeah.
Then just buy them a comic book that has to do with whatever they care about.
Oh, absolutely.
Which, that's honestly how I started reading. My dad took me out to the local drugstore, like a Rite Aid type thing, and let me pick out a couple comics. I ended up getting a bunch of detective comics at the time, and the Batman the Animated Series comics, and some G.I. Joe, and took them home, and then my mom subscribed to them, and I used to get them in the mail, which was awesome. Which, I remember that as a kid. That was just great. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much how I got into all my geeky obsessions and reading.
My dad, I don't know where he got these, but I got a bunch of comic books at one point. I remember they were Guardians of the Galaxy. There was the Legion of Superheroes, which was like a DC title. I think I remember a G.I. Joe comic in there and like a Sergeant Fury or something. So older comics at the time. Mm-hmm. It wasn't until the 90s when I started going to my local comic book shop up in Owen Sound, Mike's bookstore, that I started to read any series with any regularity. And the one I used to read was mostly because my friend Ryan was Sonic the Hedgehog. Mm-hmm. Because they used to have this artist called Spaz. Mm-hmm. I think he still does the covers, but they looked amazing for the time. They were bright, they were colorful, really, really detailed. I read Todd McFarlane's Spawn from issue 1 till about issue 75. Then I stopped. I read X-Men a little bit in the 90s. Spider-Man, and I'm kind of glad that I did, because it gave me an appreciation of the medium. My parents didn't really encourage it. In fact, my parents were very hands-off raising me. The rule was, okay, Mike, yeah, so don't die. Here's food and shelter. We'll talk to you when you're 26. Pretty much. I was left to my own devices. Oh, it's weird, man. I would get suspended from school. They wouldn't care. So, I don't know. I always found that kind of funny. But, yeah, I definitely encourage reading at every age. I mean, if it's something you're interested in. Like, hell, I remember when Watchmen was voted in Time Magazine's greatest novels of all time. And that's a book I think people should read whenever they get the chance to. So, yeah, I mean, definitely encourage it. I mean, I know my wife's a teacher, and libraries have sections dedicated to graphic novels. They've got manga in there, too. So I'm glad more kids are reading and they're taking a look at that artistic medium as something they can enjoy with that game.
Definitely.
I mean, I remember as a kid just reading in general. I think I remember starting out on those old little golden books they used to produce. And then my reading tastes went from that to Berenstain Bears. And then as I got older, I got into the Hardy Boys case files. And then I think by the time I hit high school, I was almost at the point of reading John Grisham novels and whatever else. And I had read comics here and there as a kid, but I wasn't, like, super into it. It was only, like, whenever we went to a Walden's bookstore that I would ever actually look at the comic racks and see if there was anything that I really cared about. Now, you know, I've been doing the pull bag for 3 years, and I remember when I first started out, it was all Steve's fault, and he knows this, because he was like, ooh, Batman number 13, Death of the Family, the Joker, wah. And that started me on the path, and I was pretty much, for about better part of the first year and a half, 2 years of the pull bag, I was pretty much all superhero comics. Not all of them, but specifically like the Batman stuff and whatever else, and Nightwing and Batgirl and all that. And now at this point in my comic reading, I just want to find stories that I want to read. I don't, you know, I almost have no superhero comics at this point that I'm reading. I'm reading stuff like Turtles from IDW, Sex Criminals from Image, Cowl from Image. Actually, I still have to post-date one of these 2 episodes for the pull bag, but I started doing previews episodes for the pull bag, talking about stuff that's coming out or stuff that has already been released. And I have like 5 different Marvel titles that I'll be reading trades for at some point. And if you had told me 2 years ago that I'd be reading Marvel comics, not that there's anything wrong with them, but I just didn't have any real interest a couple of years ago, I'd have probably called you crazy. But yeah, anytime you can get, and not just, okay, sure, kids, yes, you start out young, but anytime anyone can pick up something and read it and enjoy it, that's all well and good.
For my comics right now, I read, well, you know what, it's not even that. I collect, but I don't read, if that makes any sense. Because I just have to find time, but I read RoboCop, My Little Pony, Turtles, Ghostbusters. I'm trying to get back into Marvel with the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but I know that's not going to matter after Secret War or whatever the fuck it is. I'll read stuff based on my favorite properties. And I'll always read Mass Effect stuff, because as far as I know, that's canon.
Mm-hmm.
And anything involved in the Pathfinder universe, the Pathfinder role-playing game by Paizo, a guy that I don't know whether he writes it anymore. I know they just wrapped the series. The guy who was doing Samurai Jack, Jim Zubkovich, also does a comic called Skull Kicker.
Mm-hmm.
And that made me a bigger fan of the role-playing game. It expanded out the universe. He's doing Baldur's Gate right now, which is a Dungeons and Dragons thing, I think, Forgotten Realms.
Yep.
And it's really good. Want to check out good fantasy comics? That's the thing. If you told me 5 years ago I would like fantasy, I would have called you a liar. Now I'm like, man, fantasy's cool. But I'm going to admit that's mostly D&D and Pathfinder talking. But still, the comics are really good. Actually, one thing, just while I'm thinking about this, I think it was Dynamite. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. They put out a Pathfinder comic, but Paizo published it as a source book. So it was the comic in the hardcover with all the stats for all the characters, all the villages they went to, all the monsters they fought. You could base a campaign out of this book. I've never seen that done, and I think it's one of the coolest things I've ever seen since.
Mike, have you had a chance to even look at an issue of Sex Criminals from Image Comics? It's written by...
I don't think my local shop carries it, but I...
Okay. Well, you do digital, so it is on Comixology.
Actually, I do not do digital. I'm actually...
You don't? What's wrong with you?
I like physical, because I want to be able to take this in my house and carry it. But the thing is, I have 4 long boxes I haven't touched in months, so maybe I should go digital.
Yeah, you kind of should, probably.
A friend of mine posted about this week. He's like, I'm really proud of my digital comics collection. And I'm just thinking, man, if you ever lose your password, you're fucked. But I guess if my house ever burns down, I'm fucked by that token, too. I don't know. I guess I'm old school comic guard. I like having the poly bags, though not as much in my personal collection. I'm very weird like that.
Okay.
I just like having page under my fingertips. And it's not like I expect these books to retain value, because you know what? Those days are long over.
Nothing retains value anymore. They make so much of it.
Well, yeah, I mean, the only comic I can think of that retains any value was Walking Dead #1, because it was such a limited run. It was successful, and now obviously look at it. I don't know, man. I like having something with me, but digital does have its advantages. Like, I have an old Generation 1 iPad. I used to read comics on that all the time, but it was hard finding a good comic reader for a long time. Actually, that's how I read the first 70 issues of Walking Dead, was on and I don't know whether that kind of soured me toward the experience or not. Maybe I should try it again.
Steve, do you mind if I read him this really quick? It's just a blurb about the series.
I don't care.
Okay. Sex Criminals Volume 1 collects issues 1 through 5. Susie's just a regular gal with an irregular gift. When she has sex, she stops time. One day she meets John, and it turns out he has the same ability. And sooner or later, they get around to using their gifts to do what we all do. Rob a couple of banks. A bawdy and brazen sex comedy for comics begins here.
That's weird. I'm interested. That's such a weird thing. Okay, so... You know what? I'll save those questions for off air.
Yeah, yeah. I'll talk to you off air about it.
It's got my attention. The concept alone is strange.
Yeah, wait until you read it, because it gets even worse.
All right, so where are we going next, Steve?
Well,
have a question
I think... What's that?
Do we have a question for the week?
I don't, unless you guys do.
Let me see. Well, I guess... What are you guys reading? I guess would be a really good suggestion for comics. What are some books you're reading that are not from the big publishers right now? Why not? Like no Batman, no Superman, no Spider-Man. What are you reading? Give me some suggestions. Okay, here's the question of the week. If I had $20, what comic books should I pick up? That's it, $20. I'm all about supporting your local brick and mortar stores.
Do you want us to give you suggestions, or do you just want the listener feedback to give you suggestions?
Because I think we're going to get some varied opinions out there, and I think it'll be cool.
So it'll be interesting, to say the least.
Yeah.
So I think that's about it.
Yeah, this was all over the place, from fleshlights to reading comic books. We've covered everything.
Now all there needs to be is someone needs to create a comic book about a fleshlight.
time, Mike,
Well,
it
you already-
probably exists.
You already have one that has the bump and grind in it, so
True.
you know.
On that note,
Yeah.
So on that note, you can contact the show in the following ways. You can leave a voicemail at 502-526-5821. You can email us, feedback@geekcastradio.com. You can leave a comment on the episode post. You can get a hold of us on Twitter at GeekCastRadio, #AlteredGeek. My Twitter handle is @SCP21, and yours are, sirs.
DFG and Mike.
and at Birdman Dodd, which I'm on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, all under that.
Alrighty, so as always, get altered, get geeky with the Altered Geeks.
Hee hee!